Hi, everyone. My name is Mark, and I'm a qualified life coach based in London. And I have a particular interest in how we can make small incremental changes in our lives that actually have big impact. Today, I'd like to talk to you about three reflections I've had on the impact that we're making on our own lives and on other people's lives as well. And this has come about from a message that I received today. So I'm going to start off by telling you a bit of a story, so settle in. I used to be a school teacher. I used to be a primary school teacher and absolutely loved it. And I taught really the young children, like 6, 7 year old children. And but that was 35 years ago, in a long time ago, as I said. But I've still got a friend who lives in the small town where I first started teaching. And she sent me or forwarded me a message today from one of my ex students. And this ex student had contacted my friend because, she's like probably about 40 now and married with children. And she said, "Oh, I've been thinking about the death of Brian Wilson, who is a co founder of the Beach Boys." And she said, "It reminded me of my grade two teacher, Mr. Norris, me." And she said, Mr. Norris introduced me to the Beach Boys music. He loved it and he used to play it quite a lot. And she said, it's funny, the memories that come back when I listen to it. And that message that my friend sent me really struck me. I've been thinking about it quite a lot today, and I was really touched by it. 35 years ago, and this ex-student remembers my name. She remembers, a little thing about an interaction that we had, and it made me think about the impact that we're all having on everyone else's lives. So I just want to have a quick talk to you about that while it's fresh in my mind. So the first thing to say is that sometimes the impact that you make, for you, you'll forget about it, but for other people, it lasts for a long, long time, as in this case here. So I think there's something to do with importance there. So for me, perhaps just playing, a bit of Beach Boys music in the background was nice for me, or playing it at lunchtime for the kids or something. And for me, I didn't really think it was hugely important. But I'm not saying it's important for this student either. But it's obviously enough that 35 years later they connect me with it. So there's something about it being important to them. There's also something I think about: two people can look at the same interaction from different points of view. You were looking at exactly the same thing, whereas I look at it in one way, which is just maybe sharing, some fun music from, probably my childhood as well, with some younger people, and they're looking at it in completely different eyes, aren't they? So I'm sharing something about myself, and they're also looking at that from a different way. So I think there's something about looking at the same interaction in different ways. The second thing is the second point I wanted to make was sometimes it's not about what you're teaching. It's or what you're teaching isn't what the other person is learning, or they could be learning other things as well. And so there's that saying that people won't remember what you said; they'll remember the way you made them feel, and that's so true. And I find that a lot. And I used to work in HR, and so I see this being played out every single day. People often don't remember what you told them, but they'll remember the way you made them feel. I often find that people say, because I work in HR and I was in recruitment, they say, I remember the first phone call when they applied for the job, and I would ring them up and talk to them about their application, or I would invite them to interview, or I would tell them, that they did have the job. And so all these years later, and I'm talking about 10 or more years later, they say to me, you were the first person I spoke to, and it made such an impression on me. I thought, I really want to work there, because if this is what the staff is like, what a great place to work. They don't remember what I told them, unless, it was to tell them that they got the job, but they remember the way I made them feel. And that to me, it just means so much. I think that's really, really important. Um, and so that was point number two. Point number three is a question more than a point, and the question that I've been asking myself is, what impact do I want to make on people going forward? And maybe this is a question you want to ask yourself as well. And I think there's two ways of looking at it. One is forward looking, and I'm thinking there's something about intention. So when I'm interacting with people, what do I want them to walk away with? Obviously, sometimes I need them to walk away with a piece of information. Sometimes I just want them to feel better, feel better after the conversation. So, what is the intention of my interaction with that person? What impact do I want them to have? And maybe having that thought in the back of my mind will make me think a bit more about the way I interact with people so that I can make a change in people's lives. The second part of that is perhaps looking backwards and thinking about reflecting on things that I have done, or interactions I've had with people. Did they go as planned? Were they was there an outcome which I didn't expect? Did a conversation not quite go the way I thought it was going to go? So what impact was I having at that time? What was my intention at that time? Did I realize the impact I was having at that time? And I think so between the two, sometimes looking back, you need to learn from some of your interactions, because we can always improve. There's always things we could have done better, or maybe even not done better, but done differently. How could I have done that differently to have a different impact? The same conversation, the same sort of, topic we were talking about, but perhaps I could have done it differently so the impact was different. So that's looking backwards. And looking forwards, how do I want to make impact on this person or people going forward? How I'm being more intentional about my conversations. So that's some things I've been thinking about today. If you want to talk more about this, why not visit my website, www.mtccoaching.net, and maybe contact me and we can have a little conversation about it and talk more about incremental changes and the impact that you're having on people's lives. Thanks very much for watching. Bye.